Yeah, this video is more for me than it is for you. I don't know what to do with these backfields. I think it's very important that we actually figure this out for this season because these are great offenses. These are very, very, very cheap running backs. And if we can somehow crack the code and figure out who the starters are, I think we're actually going to make a lot of money. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go over to Underdog Drafts. We're going to look at all running backs that are being drafted outside the top 32 guys. And if you're an RB1 for that team, for instance, Dallas doesn't have an RB drafted inside the first 32. We're going to dive into your backfield. We're going to try to figure this out. We're going to try to solve this mystery. Let's start it off with Dallas because we've already mentioned it. So if you look at the ADP for these guys right now, Ezekiel Elliott is the RB1 in this backfield according to Fantasy Football ADP. He currently is going at pick 130, RB40. Rico Dowdle is then after. Rico Dowdle currently RB43, ADP of 140. Deuce Vaughn, RB81, ADP 215. And I don't know if we want to talk about Royce Freeman. Hell, we're going to talk about everybody here because who knows. But if we're looking at this Dallas Cowboys team, the reason it's so important to figure this out is this is a great Dallas Cowboys offense, right? I mean, you go back to where these running backs have been drafted historically. Tony Pollard was a running back going at the 1-2 turn last year. Obviously didn't work out, right? But there's a reason why people are excited about this. Like, let's just go through and let's pull up the Dallas Cowboys stats year to year because we know that, I mean, at least from a total points perspective, this is a team at the very top. Here's what we're going to do. Let's look at total offensive points year to year. This is on Pro Football Reference right now. 2023, the Dallas Cowboys, if this is true, number 1 in the NFL in points. 2022, the Dallas Cowboys, number 4 in the NFL in points. 2021, number 1 in the NFL in points. 2020, 17, 2019, 6. And then before that, they're pretty bad. But over the past 5 or so years, you've had 4 out of those 5 years finishing inside the top 10 NFL in terms of offenses. I wonder if we can look at what we have from a rushing perspective. But yeah, this past season, 1,900 rushing yards. The year prior, 2,300 rushing yards. The year before that, 2,100 rushing yards. So, I mean, you get the point. This is a great team. If we're looking at Ezekiel Elliott, however, this is a running back that the Dallas Cowboys gave up on last season for a reason. If you're looking at the efficiency that we have seen, Ezekiel Elliott just looks significantly worse on the football field. And in New England, he had a bigger role than a lot of people were expecting. And obviously, it was a horrendous offense in New England. He was set up to fail. You can't really blame the guy. But if we do take a step back and we look at it, Ezekiel Elliott, career low in carries last season. Ezekiel Elliott, career low in rushing yards last season. Ezekiel Elliott, career low in rushing touchdowns last season. Now, let's flip this to the other end because what is very, very interesting here to see with the Ezekiel Elliott usage that you had in New England this past year is you actually saw him get a little bit more involved as a receiver, where Zeke was up at 65 targets, 51 receptions, 313 receiving yards. So if Ezekiel Elliott is transitioning more so to being that running back that's going to be out there on the field on third downs, he's going to block for Dak Prescott, he's going to get some of these dump offs out of the backfield, that gives you a certain baseline level floor that you would expect from Zeke in fantasy. The question that you just have to ask is, can he be effective? Does he have anything left? A career low 3.5 yards per carry this past season. If you're looking at the contract that they give Ezekiel Elliott, it really isn't a contract where it screams that they have any faith. They didn't sign him until after the NFL draft. I think that's very telling, right? If they signed Ezekiel Elliott at the very beginning of the offseason, that tells us, oh, okay, yeah, they have faith in Zeke. They don't need to see the free agents. They don't need to see what happens in the draft. They're just going to go in. They're going to take their guy now. No, this is a last resort move for the Dallas Cowboys. They only give him $1.5 million guaranteed dollars. But you go over to Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle going immediately after, right? Rico Dowdle's on a 1-year deal in 2024. This is a contract that only has $200,000 guaranteed. So it's literally nothing from an NFL perspective. Obviously, I mean, I'll be very happy if we win $200,000 in underdog drafts this year. I'll talk about it until the end of time. But for an NFL player, it's not the end of the world. Rico Dowdle is a running back that went into the NFL in 2020, and he's had 96 career rushing attempts. We've never seen anything from him. You go over to Deuce Vaughn. Let's look at the size of Deuce Vaughn, because you remember this was someone that people were trying to scream at me was an exciting option back last preseason. And I was just telling y'all, what the hell are we talking about? He's 5'5", 179 pounds. He's 5'5". He is the NFL, right? So, I mean, I'm not really interested whatsoever based off the size. I think maybe he can be in a committee, but can he actually go out there and can he see a 3-down workload ever? Probably not. At least Rico Dowdle has some size. At least Ezekiel Elliott has the size in the receiving workload. And then Royce Freeman is a complete zero. The thing is, if you look at Royce Freeman, is $65,000 guaranteed on his contract, right? So, I mean, this is someone that's sitting up a prayer that he somehow makes the team. So if we're looking at Dallas, I don't know how I feel about this, particularly in underdog drafts where we know that you'd have to be chasing the ceiling and we want to see some pretty big spike weeks. I don't know if Ezekiel Elliott has access to spike weeks anymore. If you were drafting Zeke, what you're, at least in my mind, hoping for is you're hoping that Ezekiel Elliott gets the red zone roll. If he gets the red zone roll, which probably is going to happen, you have upside just based off touchdowns in this offense, right? And you are hoping that the receiving usage carries over from New England, where he also has the receiving usage this year. So the dream scenario for Ezekiel Elliott is he is the third down back for this offense. He continues to see targets and he has the red zone roll, because in that type of situation, he can still be an ineffective, older, inefficient running back that doesn't have a super large workload. And he can be effective in fantasy football if that is the case, particularly in a pretty good offense. Now, what I want to dive into here is Rico Dowdle and Deuce Vaughn and see if they really have any upside in terms of their ability to catch the football. Now, we're not really going to be able to look at what they've done in the NFL just because obviously these guys haven't had a shot to do anything in the NFL. So instead, I want to go way back to what we have from them in college, because if we can see what they did in college, I think that's going to be a pretty big deal here. So if we are looking at Rico Dowdle, this is a running back that had a 7% target share his final season at South Carolina. So he was an okay running back. He was involved as a receiver, but not great, right? If we're going to go over to Deuce Vaughn, I mean, the thing that would terrify you if you're drafting Zeke is if Zeke only gets the red zone role, Deuce Vaughn only gets the receiving role, and Rico Dowdle takes a bunch of these touches in the middle. Deuce Vaughn had a 16 to 17% target share at Kansas State. So if you're looking at this, if you draft Zeke and he only gets the red zone role, you're probably not making money. He probably doesn't have the upside you're looking for. If Deuce Vaughn gets the third down back, if he's the third down guy, Rico Dowdle just gets some of the nonsense. Zeke gets the red zone roll. This may be a backfield where it's split three ways and nothing's valuable. The only way that you can go through and you can draft one of these running backs is if you think Zeke has the third down role, or if you think Deuce Vaughn is an explosive enough player too. If he gets the third down role, create some big plays. Now going over to the Chargers, this is a little more clear cut than I was initially expecting. Primarily if we're going to be looking at the contracts here. Now, if you're looking at Gus Edwards gets $3.3 million guaranteed, which NFL perspective, that's not a ton, but it's a lot more than everybody else in this backfield. You go over to J.K. Dobbins. I mean, J.K. Dobbins, obviously, he's the guy with the name appeal. J.K. Dobbins, I know people got mad at us in a live stream the other night because we said, I mean, he's always disappointed in fantasy. He's never been an impact player from a fantasy football perspective, and he was drafted in 2020. And of course, we had people coming down screaming at us. He had 800 rushing yards. It doesn't matter. In 2020, he was the RB 33 from a points per game perspective in a PPR format, right? You can look at some raw totals and convince yourself that they are impressive, but no, he's RB 33. That doesn't move the needle. But anyway, he has the name appeal. But if you look at the fact of the matter is this is a running back that's never made a difference. And at the same time, this is a running back that has $50,000 guaranteed on his contract. He's less guaranteed money than we just talked about with Royce Freeman. The rookie running back that they bring in is a 5th round draft pick. Let's go ahead. Let's bring up his size. Let's bring up his athletic profile, and let's bring up what you have as a receiver. Because the hope here, he says, we know Gus Edwards isn't really going to be viewed as the receiving back. So if you think that their rookie back coming out of Troy is going to be the receiving back here, he has the size where he's a BMI of 32.4. He's only 5'8", but he's 213 pounds, right? So he has the size where he looks like he can handle a 3-down workload. Gus Edwards, we've historically seen not catch the football. J.K. Dobbins, we've historically seen not catch the football. If I'm drafting a Chargers running back, we're probably going to go with the rookie and send up a prayer that this is someone that can come out and earn the 3rd down role. And obviously Gus Edwards is still in play. And in underdog drafts, Gus Edwards is still viable. And of course, you could draft both these running backs, right? And you can kind of call your shot, because if you draft 2 guys in this backfield, say you take Gus Edwards in round like 11, and then you take the rookie in round 16, then all of a sudden you can, if both guys are the guys in Los Angeles, you can capture the entire backfield in a very good offense that really wants to run the ball, at least based off what this coaching staff showed us this offseason. And yeah, in best ball, where you're not having to submit your lineup every single week and it's being done for you at the end of the week, you can see some edge. But the issue is if Dobbins has a role, right? The issue is if somehow Isaiah Spiller makes the team and Isaiah Spiller has a role. But I mean, these running backs are so cheap based off the offense that they're in, based off the offensive line investments, based off what the coaching staffs are saying. I think you can take a shot on either Edwards or the rookie and be just fine. I'm probably not going to be drafting a lot of J.K. Dobbins after looking at the situation, though. And of course, if you want to draft these guys, we're drafting literally every single night on Underdog. We're drafting at 9 p.m. Eastern on the live stream. If you want to join us, you can find the link in the description in the comment section. Underdog's best ball, so there's no time commitment at all during the year. So I draft hundreds of teams every offseason. So we won $150,000 on Underdog 2 years ago. And of course, if you use code FLOCK on Underdog, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. And at the same time, you'll get a special NBA pick'em. It's going to depend on the day that you sign up. Like, it's going to be something like Luka Doncic more than less than half a total point. It's whatever that game is that night. But if you use code FLOCK, you're going to get that with the link in the description. But let's move over to our next backfield. This one's cheating. You have RB33 Austin Eckler, RB34 Brian Robinson. I think it's very clear what's going to happen here, but I do want to talk about Eckler for a minute here, because if we are talking contracts, obviously Eckler's a player that we all want to root for. I mean, Eckler's an exciting guy, work ethic. I mean, undrafted free agent, fantasy football league winner. Everybody loves Austin Eckler, right? For a great reason. But if we look at the fact of the matter, this is a running back that the team that just had him in their building, who they get to see him every single day, they get to evaluate Austin Eckler firsthand. They decided, yeah, we're good. You can go elsewhere. So it's never a good sign, whether it's Aaron Jones, whether it's Joe Mixon, whether it's Austin Eckler. These older running backs, I mean, Eckler now going to be playing 29 years old this next season. For his team to let him walk out the building, not great. Of course, it doesn't mean that he's trash. I mean, if he walks out the building and he's Saquon Barkley and gets a massive contract with another team, we go, oh, okay. Obviously, NFL talent invaders, they still like this guy. They still think he has juice. That didn't happen with Austin Eckler. The man gets $4.2 million guaranteed. We're going to talk about Singletary in a second. I mean, Singletary gets $9.5 million guaranteed. Devin Singletary got doubled. He doubled the guaranteed money amount that you had from Austin Eckler. I mean, I believe DeAndre Swift damn near tripled the guaranteed money that Eckler got. And we can't sit here and make an argument saying, oh, come on. Eckler went to the Chiefs. Eckler went to the Bills. Eckler went to, obviously can't go to the Niners with CMC. But anyway, Eckler went to a Super Bowl contender. He wants a ring. He really wants to win. No, he went to Washington. This isn't a situation where, I mean, every player's trying to get to. So you're looking at a contract which indicates that nobody really wanted him. You're looking at a destination which it tells us the contract doesn't really just say that he is signing on for a team-friendly deal. No, I mean, he took what he could get. And he's playing alongside Jaden Daniels, who is that rushing quarterback. And what we've historically seen is rushing quarterbacks will boost the efficiency of the running backs in their offense, because Jaden Daniels, he goes to hand the ball off. The linebacker can't crash down on Austin Eckler. As a typical quarterback, I mean, say Peyton Manning back in the day, he goes to hand the ball off. It's either going to be a play action pass or it's going to be a run. You can crash down. But if you're looking at someone like Jaden Daniels, you can't crash. He can tuck the ball. He can run it himself, right? So you have to freeze. Is why running alongside Lamar, pretty much whoever's there is at the top of the NFL in yards per carry every season. But there's a drawback with it as well. in that we, historically speaking, see lower check down rates from those quarterbacks that can run the ball. Because when the pocket collapses on third down, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, these guys, they're not Phillip Rivers. They're not forced to just check the ball down to the running back out of the backfield. No, instead, they have to tuck it. They have to run it themselves. I mean, they can tuck it. They can run it themselves and pick up the first down, which is completely fine for some running backs. Like I think Derrick Henry, it's a great situation for him to be in Baltimore because Derrick Henry, his bread and butter is not catching the football out of the backfield, right? But in the case of like Austin Eckler, that is his bread and butter. So I'm very much worried about the fit that Eckler has with Jaden Daniels, which is why if you've been watching our live streams every night, even though Eckler's RB33, extremely cheap, and I kind of like this Washington offense, I'm not going to be drafting a lot of Austin Eckler this year. Brian Robinson is back-to-back with him. Brian Robinson's RB34. I don't think Brian Robinson's a super talented player. I don't think he's going to have access to a lot of spike weeks, but it is kind of obvious. I mean, how these running backs fit alongside each other. You'd imagine Brian Robinson is the first and second down back. Austin Eckler is the third down guy. If it was a different quarterback, I think we can be more excited about Eckler, but I think Jaden Daniels probably benefits Brian Robinson a little bit more. I don't know if I love either price point. If I had to draft someone here, I'm probably going to go Brian Robinson with a slight discount. Now, going over to the Giants, this is an interesting spot because the New York Giants told us flat out who their starting running back is this year. They let Saquon Barkley walk, and then from there, they gave Devin Singletary $9.5 million guaranteed. Keep in mind, let's go through the other running backs on this list. Austin Eckler had $4.2 million, so less than half of Devin Singletary. We go over to J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins had $50,000 guaranteed compared to the $9.5 million for Devin Singletary. You go over to Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards, $3.375 million guaranteed. I also want to point out Eckler only had $400,000 more than Gus Edwards, so that is important. Going over, looking at Zeke Elliott. Zeke Elliott, $1.5 million guaranteed. So Devin Singletary gets paid more, and I mean well more than anybody else on this list. They let Saquon Barkley walk, obviously. I mean, whether they had a choice or not, I don't know. And then what else did they do at running back? They drafted Tyrone Tracy in the 5th round of this year's draft, which I'm not going to sit here and make the argument that Devin Singletary is some elite level running back. But at the same time, I will say Tracy is not a very exciting prospect in my mind. The one concern you could potentially have is he was involved as a receiver at Purdue. So if you think he comes in, if you think he takes the receiving role from Singletary, that would be a big concern. Looking at what Singletary did this past season, I actually won some money with Devin Singletary in underdog drafts this last year. I want to say Singletary and Kareem Hunt were my 2 picks in underdog drafts that we should have lost money. Horrible process. I think we got lucky with how it worked out. But yeah, Devin Singletary kind of took over as a starter down the stretch. What is interesting to see is Singletary was involved as a receiver in Houston just as he was in Buffalo, though. So I don't know. I think Devin Singletary is a completely fine pick. RB 35, ADP 114. I would probably rather take Devin Singletary the round after Austin Eckler than Eckler the round before, assuming it's an underdog draft, which of course is a half PPR league. But that is it for the backfields that their RB1s being drafted past RB32. I kind of want to reiterate, Dallas, I don't know what to assume. There are a lot of different things that can happen. It's probably going to be a running back by committee in some gross way. It comes down to, do you think Deuce Vaughn makes the team? Do you think he is the third down back on this roster? Because if you think Zeke's the third down back and Zeke's the red zone back, Zeke is a value at RB40 if you think that's going to happen. The Chargers, I think Gus Edwards is clearly the lead back here. I don't expect him to be a 3-down workhorse. I expect him to be operating in a committee. I probably go with the rookie over J.K. Dobbins, considering the discount we're going to get on the rookie. The Commanders, they're reasonably priced. I think a lot of people will scream that Eckler's a value. I think that there are reasons and valid reasons why he's going so low in drafts. And then the Giants, I think we know pretty clearly who the starting running back is here, and it's a bad offense, but at RB35, I think you can do a lot worse than Devin Singletary. But I think that's what I got for you. Hope you got something from it. Hope we were able to help you out in some way. And of course, if you have not done so already, hit the like, subscribe to Play Fantasy Football, And yeah, if you want to hop in a draft with us, drafting every single night, 9 p.m. Eastern, you can find that link in the description and the comment section. And yeah, if you're not already on Underdog Fantasy, don't know what you're waiting for. We are drafted there every single day for years. And it's not too late to join. You can find that link there as well. And yeah, Code Flock get you a 100% deposit match. Plus, you'll be getting that special NBA pick'em more than less than half a total point for a player like Luka Doncic, more than less than half a point for whatever big NBA players playing that night with Code Flock. But thank you again. Really appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day, and really hope we get to see you out in the draft with us later tonight.